Okay, so by now you've completed the other problems from 2 through 12. So why don't you check number 4? Take a moment to see if you got the same thing I did here. Okay. All right, let me move it you can pause the video if you need more time and study that. Okay, and then here's number 10. Okay, so take a moment and look at number 10. See if we got the same thing there. The given information is in blue. The ones I found are in red. And the approach you took could be different than me. So for instance, on number 10, you might have found angle B instead of angle A first. And if you used angle B, you would have probably said tangent, but you would have had 17.6 over 15.3. Okay, that would be okay. So you could have a different route of different order in the way you found things. Okay. All right, pause it if you need more time to look at that. And then here's number 12. Okay, so I chose to find the third side. You didn't have to necessarily do that first. And then I could have found B first if I wanted. I would have just used sine and said sine of B is 4 over 9 and gone from there. Okay. And so check your work on number 12 and make sure you've got the basics down. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to be working some of these problems, 30, 32, 34, 36. Let's go ahead and work a few of these and see how they go, okay? So you've got more than one triangle that you're focused on, okay? So you need to get your bearings, make sure you're interpreting what they're giving you correctly, then look at what it is you need to find, okay? And so I want to know that whole entire length X. I know this angle in the top triangle is 20. The angle here in the bottom triangle is 8. Okay, and then that 100 right there is a shared side of those two triangles. So that's probably going to come into play. All right. I could find this side right here. I'm going to call it A. And this side right here, I'm going to call it B. So that's B. And this is A. I could find each of those individually and then just add them up. And that would give me X, okay? You can't put the 20 and the 8 together right now and say that's 28 and use it in some way to get X, because you have to be only focused on right triangles. So you have to take each of these little triangles separately, okay? All right, so I'm going to look at the top triangle. In fact, I'll draw that just in this case, so you really start getting to where you can visualize it without separating it. So this is what I'm looking at, okay? And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to use that bottom triangle here. I called that B. This was 8 degrees right there, but that was still 100. So I'm just going to use those two triangles and set up some trig ratios and then solve them. So I'm looking at 20 degrees. A is going to be opposite and 100 is adjacent. And so that means I'm going to think tangent on that one. Then I'm going to look over here. I got to remember where the right angle is. I got to study that. There was the right angle, okay, on that one. And so B is opposite, and the 100 is not the right angle, opposite the right angle, is it? Okay. All right, the 100 is adjacent to the 8. See, this would be the hypotenuse down here. This would be the hypotenuse over here. Okay, so again, I think tangent makes sense. And it would be tangent is opposite over adjacent. So that would be the tangent of 8 degrees equals B over 100. And then I'll just work each of those out, okay? So A would be 100 times the tangent of 20, because I would just multiply both sides by 100. And the same thing here. When you multiply by 100, you get that B equals 100 tangent of 8. So you do each of those. So that would be 14. And let's see. I didn't write down what they wanted there, so we'll just keep the same. We'll just do 2 decimal places. So A would be 14.05 about. And B would be about, okay, I'm just going to go back and modify. Oh, actually, I think I did B first. That 14.05 was actually B. All right, now let me go back up there and put a 20 in where the 8 was. And when I do that, I find out that A is about 36.40. If I round to 2 decimal places, it's 36.397. So that would bump it up to 36.40. And so then X, the way I set it up, X would just be 36.40 plus 14.05. And that was rounded 36.40 to 14.05. And that's going to give me about 50.45. Okay. All right, so around 50 if we rounded it to the nearest whole, but I didn't write down what they had wanted on that. Okay. All right, let's see now. Let's take a look at this picture. This one's a little harder, I think, if you're brand new to this stuff, because your triangles are overlapping, where on the previous one, they were just connected to one another, okay? So I'm really trying to find just this little length right here, okay? And I could calculate that small piece right there. That would turn out to be like 12 degrees. The reason I'm not going to wind up using that is because this small triangle up here wouldn't have a right angle in it, and then I wouldn't have anything I could do, because SOHCAHTOA wouldn't apply in that little triangle if none of the angles are right angles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the big right triangle you see, okay, which has the 40-degree angle and that whole entire length with a right angle here. And I know this is 400 down here. And then I'm going to look at that smaller right triangle that's within it, where this is 400 and this is 28. All right, so think about what I can do. You see how I can find this piece and I can find that piece? So I can find this, A, and in the big picture, A would be this whole entire thing here. And then I can find B, which would be this piece. And then I could just subtract those two things. Okay, so make sure that what you're doing is making use of the right triangles. Because right now you don't know about law of sines or law of cosines, so you don't have an alternative to that. All right, so I'm looking at this first picture here, and I see the opposite and the adjacent sides. So I'm going to wind up using tangent again. So the tangent of 40 would equal A over 400. Over here, it's tangent. There's no reason why everything has to be tangent. It just happens to be on these. Okay, this would be tangent of 28 equals B over 400. So you'll multiply both sides by 400, and you'll wind up having to do 400 tangent of 40 to get A, and then 400 times tangent of 28 degrees to get B. Okay, so let's get each of those. So that one turns out to be about 335.64, and B turns out to be about, I'm just going to go up to the thing I've already entered and just change it from 40 to 28. Everything else is already in there. That turns out to be around 212.68. And then remember in the picture how I can just take the B from A. So the X that I want is just going to be 335.64 minus the 212.68. So that's going to be 122.96. 122.96. All right. You know, let me just change what we're going to round to since we just made it up. Let's just round to the nearest whole. So this would be about 50 on that first one. This one would turn out to be 122.96. That would turn out to be this right here, would turn out to be about 123. Here I got that one to be about 50. And there weren't units listed on these, so we don't know what the units are. Okay. All right, let's take a look at 34. See if we can kind of see what we could do there. So it really helps to be able to visualize the right triangle. So you can see the one small triangle there. That's the 48 degrees with the 500 on this side. Okay. And then see the triangle that has the 20 in it where you see the X, that one right there is not a right triangle. So you can't outright use that right now, but you can do this. You can use that one, okay, that has the 20 here and the 90 there and the 500 here. And then X isn't that whole length because X would only go about that far. So you don't get X out of either of these two triangles, but we're just going to do what we did before. If I could find this side, this right here, and then this piece, okay, you see where they are? So if I knew this whole thing, and then I knew this piece, I could just subtract to get X. All right, so you always kind of think it through, get your plan straight, and then you just get to work on it. All right, so I'm just going to call this one A and this one B. I need to find A and B, and then I'll subtract them. So now I'm looking at the 20 degrees. Gosh, and once again, it turns out to be a tangent problem. This is opposite, and this is adjacent. So I'm going to do the tangent of 20 equals 500 over A. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to do the tangent of 48 equals 500 over B. Okay. These just have a slightly more difficult algebraic component because the A was on the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to multiply by A on both sides. That gets me to here, right? If I did A on both sides, the A would cancel and I'd get to there. If I did B on both sides, multiplied by B on both sides, I'd get B tangent 48 equals 500. And then I need to get A by itself. So I'm going to divide by the tangent of 20 here. And over here by the tangent of 48. Okay. And then go ahead and type in 500 divided by tangent of 20. 20 degrees. And I wind up getting 1,373.74 for A. And for B, I can just go up and modify what I already have typed in and put in tan of 48 there. And I wind up getting about 450.20. 0.20. Okay. All right. So we're going to go up here and we're going to think about how, okay, well, X is just going to be A, take away the B. All right. So the X is going to just equal, approximately equal, the A minus the B. So take the 1373.74, subtract 450.20, and that turns out to be around 923.54. So if we were to round to the nearest whole, that would be around 924 on 34. Okay. Okay. So now let's see, where are we? All right. So now we need to take a look at number 36. Okay. All right. Okay. So let me get 36 is quite different. I'm thinking I'm going to stop on this one and come back, and then when I come back in the next video, we'll do 36 and then the rest of the word problems, okay? So what we'll look at is we'll look at this big triangle here. That one there. And then we'll look at the smaller right triangle. Okay, so it's a little steeper here. Okay. Both of them have X over here. The problem is both of them have this 100 piece. No, not both of them. One of them has a little 100 piece. But you see that the triangle itself doesn't really have one of the sides given to you. So this one's going to be algebraically a bit of a bear. So I'm going to do it on a separate video on a separate sheet. And then this is the type of problem that's way easier if you do it using law of sines or law of cosines, which we'll do later. Okay. So what we'll wind up doing is we'll wind up probably looking at adding a variable here, which is actually this. This side is, we could call A. So that would be A. And then this whole thing would be 100 plus A, because A would be from here there. And so we're going to have a little bit of a messy algebra problem. This one's quite a bit different from the others. Okay, so let me go ahead and stop it at this point, and then we'll continue with 36 in another video. And then we'll look at the word problems, which really aren't that bad if you can get the drawing in there.